So in the last two videos, we built out the applications page, and then we also built out the dynamic applications page. So when I click on a certain application that I've made or that I have received, I can click on it, and then it takes me into the dynamic application page, which you can see right here with a bunch of things that we did, and you can see that it looks very, very nice. So now in this video, I want us to begin working on the notifications page, which is quite an easy page. You can see it is still a 404 page, but we're going to fix that right away. So we're going to go into the app folder, into dashboard, and then create a new file called notifications/notifications with a plural, with an S, /page.jsx, and then you can begin to build this out. So we're going to mark this file as use client, and then we're going to import use query, use mutation, and then we're going to import use user. We're going to import API. We're going to import the button, import button. We are also going to import the card content, card description, and card header, and I'm forgetting card title as well. And then we're going to import the badge. So import badge from components by badge, and then import some icons. So import the bell icon, the paw print, and we need the message circle, and then the check icon, and then the eye icon as well. And then we need the link, which is not a dynamic import, from next link, and then import the toast as well. So import the toast method from Sona XO. Now let's begin to build out our page. So export default function notifications page. First thing to do is destructure the user. So const user, this is coming from use user, and then const current user, get the current user from convex. Use query, passing api.users.get user by clerk ID. This checks for user $.id, and if it is true, then we're going to pass in the clerk ID as user.id. Otherwise, we are going to skip the query. And then next, we want to check for notifications. So const notifications is equal to use query, and the query, and then pass in api.notifications. Can't type, what can't I type? Notifications dot get notifications by user, which is a function that we don't have. This checks for the current user $._id. If that is true, then it passes in the user ID as current user._id. Otherwise, we just skip the query. So we need to create that function, and then const mark as read is equal to use mutation, and pass in api.notifications.mark as read. Once again, we don't have this function, so mark as read. And then we're going to create a function here to mark as read. So const mark as handle mark as read and speak. This is an asynchronous function which is going to take in the notification ID. So notification ID, and then we're going to have a try catch block here. So try catch. For the try, we're going to say await mark as read, which we're getting from the top. This takes in the ID as the notification ID, like so. And then for the catch, we're going to say console.error, and then pass in error marking notification as read, then pass in the error, and then toast.error failed to mark notification as read. Now, probably I think we can also add a toast notification here. So toast.success, where we're going to say notification read, something like that, but I don't know whether that is going to be good, but I think let's just have it as that. Now, before we continue, I think let's create these two functions because we're going to need them. So let's jump into convex right here, and then into notifications. So we already have get notification, and we have get and read count. So right below create notification rather, we're going to go ahead and say export const get notifications by user, make sure that I type this correctly. Get notifications by user. Get notifications by user. This is a query. Open this up, and then it takes in the arguments here. So user ID as v.id coming from the users table. And then the handler function here is an asynchronous function taking the context and the arguments. We're going to say return await context.db.query, and we're querying the notifications table. We're querying it with index of by user, so get notifications depending on the user. And then passing in our callback here, where we're going to say query.equals the user ID and compare to the arguments.user ID that we're getting back, and then order them in descending order. So the last one added is going to be the first one shown, so descending order, and then dot collect to get the number of them. So get notifications by user. And then the other function is export const mark as read. This is a mutation where we're going to say that the arguments that this takes in is the ID, which is coming from v.id from the notifications table. And then the handler function is going to be an asynchronous function taking the context and the arguments. We're going to say return await context.db.patch, and then passing the arguments.id, and then get the isRead property and set it to true. And that is how you mark it as read. You change the isRead property into true. So if it is false, then you have not read it. So you can save that, and then let's continue building out our application, because I think we are now done with that file. Now, once you create this function, we need to create another function called const get notification icon, and this should look very, very similar because we have done it multiple times in other pages. This takes in the type as an argument, so we're going to create a switch statement here depending on the type. So in the case that the notification is an adoption underscore request, then we're going to return the paw print icon, so paw print icon with a class name here of size-5 and text orange-500. Close it out with a semicolon. And then in the case that it is an application underscore update, then we're going to return the check icon with a class name here of size-5 and text green-500. Close it out. Keep missing the semicolon. And then in the case that it is a message, then we're going to go ahead and return the message circle icon with the class name here of size-5 and text-blue-500. And then for the default case, we're going to go ahead and return the bell icon, just meaning that you've got a notification with a class name here of size-5 and text gray-500. And there we go. And so basically, if someone makes an adoption request, you're going to get a notification. And when you make an update to the application, meaning you mark it as accepted or rejected, or if they do the same to your application, you're going to get a notification. And then if someone sends you a message, you're going to get a notification. And then by default, this is the icon that we're going to be showing if you have any notifications at all. Now we're going to do a similar function here called get const get notification action, and this takes in the notification as an argument, where we're going to switch the notification.type, and then in the case of adoption request, so let me just go ahead and let's copy this because the return is a bit different. Let's just copy that. In the case of adoption request, then you want to go ahead and return a link here with a dynamic value href going into /dashboard/applications $$ curly bracket notification.related ID, which should take you into the application that has been made. And then the button here, the size for it is going to be small, and then the variant is going to say outline. It's outline like so, and then the text is going to say view application. So that is our return, which closes right here. And then we can copy this, and then we're simply going to say that in the case that it is an application underscore update, application update, okay, then we're going to return a link which is going into /dashboard /notifications, sorry, dashboard / applications, just like that. And this is going to be the same thing. And then in the case of a message, then we're going to go ahead and return, we want to return the link with an href here going into /dashboard /messages, and then question mark application is equal to, and then $ curly bracket notification dot related ID, just like that. And then inside this, we're going to have a button here with a size of small and with a variant of outline. And then the text is going to say view message. And then by default, so for the default case, we're simply going to say return null. So don't return anything. Okay. Now we're going to go below this function. If there is no current user, then we're going to go ahead and return our loading spinner component, just like so. Once again, I forgot to import it. So this should say return, spell it correctly. And then now below this, we can begin to build out our actual return. So we're going to return a div with a class name of mxAuto, and then max width -4xl, and then padding all around of 6. And are we on the notifications? We are. So let's just go ahead and build something first of all before we save it. So we're going to return a div with a class name of margin bottom of 8, and then an h1 with a class name of margin bottom of 2, text -3xl, font -bold, and text gray -900. The text is going to say notifications, and then below the h1 we're going to have a paragraph which says stay updated on your adoption applications and messages. Save that. Let's see what we have on the screen. And there we go. So let's continue building this out. So we're going to go below this div. We are now going to create the notifications list. So we're going to return a div with the class name of space on the y of 4. And then inside this, we want to check for the notifications and notifications.length being greater than 0. If that is true, then we want to return something. And then if it is false, we're going to return something as well. So first of all, we're not going to return a fragment, but we're going to map over notifications. So notifications.map, and then for every notification that we get back, we're going to return a card component with a key of notification dot underscore ID. Let's close it out. And then the class name for this class name is going to be a dynamic value, so transition-all with a duration of 200. And then $ curly bracket, we want to check if not notification.isRed. If that is true, where is it? If that is true, then the class name that should apply is border orange-200 and bg orange-50. Then otherwise, we should apply hover shadow-sm, just like that. And then inside the card, we're going to have card content with the class name of padding all round of 6. Close it out. And then we're going to have a div with the class name of flex and items as start, and then space on the x of 4. Inside this, we're going to have another div with the class name of flex-shrink-0. And then inside this, we're going to say get notification icon, the function that we created, and then passing the notification dot type. So let's save that. Let's see whether we have any notifications. We should have one since this is blinking. And there we go. So we have one notification right there. So just based on the type right here, we can infer from our code get notification icon right here that we have got an adoption request, since this is the icon that is showing. Fantastic. Now let's continue building this out. We are going to go below this div. We're going to turn another div with a class name of min width-0 and then flex-1. Inside this, another div with a class name of flex and items-start and justify-between. Inside this div, another div with a class name of flex-1. Inside this div, another div with a class name of margin bottom of 1 and flex and items-at-center, and then space on the x of 2. And then inside this, finally, an h3 with a class name of text-large and font-semi-bold, and then text gray-900. And then this is going to say the notification.title. Now let's save that, and then let's see what we have on the screen, just to show you how it's going to look like, and then we can blitz through the rest of it. And there we go. So new adoption application. So let's continue building it out, and then you can preview it at the end. So below the h3, we want to check if not notification is read. Only when that is true, that's when we want to have a badge here of variant default, and then the class name is going to say bg orange-500, and then this is going to say new, so you have a new notification. And then below this, and then below this div, we're going to have a paragraph with the class name of margin bottom of 2 and text gray-700, gray, not grayer, so gray. And then inside this, we're going to show the notification dot message, just like that. And then below the paragraph, we're going to have another paragraph with the class name of text-sm and text gray-500. Inside this, we want to check new date and then pass in the notification dot created at, is that working, .to local date string, like so. And then outside of this, we're going to say at, and then open it up once again, new date, and then pass in notification dot created at dot to local time string, like so. So created on a certain day at a certain time. That's basically what that is doing. And then below the paragraph, and then below the div, we're going to have another div with the class name of margin on the left of 4, and then flex item-center, and then space on the x of 2. And then inside this div, we want to say get notification action, and then pass in the notification, just like that. And then below this, want to check if not notification dot is read, and only when that is true, that's when we want to open this up and render out the button with the size of small, and then the variant of ghost, and then on click. So when you click on this button, we're going to call an inline function here called handle mark as read, and then pass in the notification dot underscore id, just like so. And then inside the button, we're going to have the eye icon with the class name of size-4, just like that, so that you can mark that notification as read. And now for the else statement right here, we're going to return a card once again with the class name of padding on the y of 12, and then text-center. Inside this, we're going to have card content. Inside card content, we're going to have the bell icon. So the bell is going to be having a class name here, class name of mxauto, and then margin bottom of 4, and then size-12, and the text gray-400. And then below the bell, we're going to have an h3 with a class name of margin bottom of 2, and text-large and font-semi-bold, and then text-gray-900. And then the text is going to say no notifications yet. Below the h3, we're going to have a paragraph with the class name of margin bottom of 4. Margin bottom of 4. And the paragraph is going to say you will receive notifications when someone applies to adopt your pets, or when there are updates on your applications, just like that. And then below the paragraph, we're going to show the link component with an href that goes into /dashboard/discover, and then this is going to be showing the button, and the button is just going to say discover pets, just like that. We can save that, and that is the entire notifications page complete. And there we go. So you can see that this is a new notification. So if I click on view application, it is going to take me into the actual application that has been made. So I can either accept it or reject it. And then if I go back, you'll notice that I have this eye icon here. So when I click on it, it's going to mark it as read and then apply the correct styles as well. Fantastic. Now the only page that we're left with, I hope I didn't skip any, is the messages page. Very, very nice. So let's go ahead and build the messages page next.